Hello and good morning, MYM Insiders. How's everybody doing today? This is Rich Harshaw, and I'm here today for our Contractor Business Accelerator call. And I want to share with you a webinar today that is actually a webinar I did not that long ago for a different group. Some of you may have attended that webinar. Some of you may not have attended that webinar. So I wanted to make sure that we circle back around and that everybody who's a member of the Insider program had a chance to get this information, because I think it's that good and that, it's that relevant for your business. It's about overcoming price resistance. And if you're a longtime MYM watcher, you probably are not going to see, anything on this webinar that's going to be earth-shattering or particularly new or unexpected. But what I've done is I've taken some of the major concepts and I've sort of amalgamated them into one webinar. So we're going to talk about some things like identity, of course. That's one of the major things. Prepositioning is one of the major things. But I think you'll like the way that this all pulls together. So without a whole lot more further introduction, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. And we're going to talk about how to overcome price resistance. My experience is consistent that most companies think that they get a lot of price resistance. And they tend to look at price resistance as an inevitable thing that comes when you sell at higher prices. But here's what I found is an interesting thing. If you look at companies that sell windows, excuse me, I'm overcoming a cold here. If you look at companies that sell windows in the $400 to $500 price range, they will tell you that they get price resistance all the time. And if you look at companies that sell $800 to $900 windows, they'll tell you that they encounter price resistance. And when you look at companies that sell windows in the $1,200 to $1,300 range, you'll hear them say that they encounter price resistance. It happens no matter what. So to me, it seems like it probably has a little bit less to do with actual price resistance, and it has to do with customers and prospective customers that really don't understand, number one, your value proposition, number two, what types of information and elements need to be considered when making the decision. So all things considered, they don't know what else to talk about. They don't know what else to ask, so they get price resistance. This goes all the way back to 1996. Excuse me. One of my very first remodeling clients was a very large roofing company called Smith Roofing, and the owner of the company had a long-standing policy that they did not advertise in the Yellow Pages, other than just a line listing that you would get for free. They would not buy ads. And this is in a day in 1996 when the Yellow Pages was an extremely important component of advertising for a lot of roofing companies. It was like attorneys back in those days. You'd find 30, 40, 50 pages of roofers, or attorneys, but in this case roofers. And yet Smith Roofing, who was very, very large, in fact the largest not only in the area but in the nation in terms of residential roofing, refused to buy an ad. Now you might look at that and say, well, he refused to buy an ad and he was the largest roofer, so it must have been working. And clearly it was working. However, I found that he was missing opportunities by not being in the Yellow Pages back in those days. Now, why was he not in the Yellow Pages? The answer is because he told me that the Yellow Pages buyers were price shoppers. I said, well, what do you mean they're price shoppers? And he said, well, every time we get a call from the Yellow Pages, the person would ask, how much is it going to cost to re-roof my house? And he didn't like these people calling and asking how much it was going to cost. It drove him insane. So his answer to that was, we just won't advertise in the Yellow Pages, so we'll get rid of those guys. And I said to him, I find it very unlikely and intriguing, but mostly unlikely, that the people who are broke and stupid and dumb and only care about the price would somehow self-select themselves to look at the Yellow Pages for a roofer. But meanwhile, all the people who were smarter and richer and had more money and didn't care about the price would somehow not call from the Yellow Pages. They would somehow find other ways to select a roofing company. I found that to be as improbable as I did interesting. And he said, well, that's just been my experience. And I said something to him that he didn't really like because he was an old man that had been doing it forever, and I was just some young, stupid kid who apparently had no idea what he was talking about, but I told him anyway, which was, it's your fault that you're getting price shoppers. And he didn't like that because I was a dumb, stupid kid, but it turns out all these years later, I still was right. It didn't matter. It's your fault if you're running into price resistance. It's your fault. It's not the fault of the customer. It's not the fault of the marketplace. It's your fault, because what you're doing is you're setting your prices at a certain level, which you feel are fair, just, and right, appropriate prices, right? But you're somehow falling short of allowing the prospect's expectations to fall in line with the reality of how much it should cost. Either that, or you truly are just overpriced, and shame on you for trying to get too much money. But I'm going to give you benefit of the doubt that that is not true. So keep all of this in mind as we go through this. My experience says that the number one reason that people don't buy right away, or that they give you price resistance, is because the amount that you're asking them far exceeds what they were expecting. Now, that's an important statement to analyze. It's not that they can't afford it. It's not that they don't want to afford it. It's not that they don't like you. It's not that any of those things. It's just that when you see here on the screen, you're asking for $47,400. If their expectation was going to be $30,000 or $35,000, and now you're suddenly asking for $47,000, that's very difficult for them to overcome. So we've got to find a way before you show up to start to condition them about how much prices should be, what to look out for, what to watch out for, what goes into a quality remodeling job, and so forth. And here's the key word. I'm going to give you a couple of words. The first word is scrutinize. Scrutinize. Jot it down. Customers are going to scrutinize contractors more than ever since the recession. Money's a little tighter. It's loosening up now, but still the mindset is there. And number two is the word facilitate. It's the F word of marketing. Facilitate. Your job is to facilitate the decision-making process. Now, let's go through a little exercise here. Why does price resistance occur in the first place? Well, here's the answers. When it comes to remodeling, nobody knows how much it should cost. Nobody knows how to judge value. And the only question they know to ask is how much. So they show up to your sales meeting with an anticipated price range. It's probably a lot lower than what you're going to ask them. And this leads to unrealistic expectations, disappointment, price pressure. Okay, this is where it comes from. This is where it comes from. Now, there obviously are going to be some prospective clients that are simply, just cheap, and that's okay. You don't need to worry about them because they're going to be cheap no matter what. And no matter what you do, they're going to be cheap. And if that's not your customer, here's what you can do, is you can use marketing to actually push those people out and away from you so that they don't even talk to you in the first place. Or in other words, they stop wasting your time, okay? Now, let's consider from this prospect standpoint what it's like to buy remodeling. Now, I added this up a couple of months ago. How many cars have I bought in my lifetime? And the answer was 22. I've purchased 22 cars, either for myself, on behalf of my children, with my wife. Over the years, I'm 45 years old. I bought my first car when I was 16 years old, and I've purchased 22 cars. Now, here's why I'm telling you that. Because during those last, whatever it is, 30 almost years, and 22 vehicles that I've purchased, I've come to understand and learn how much vehicles should cost, what to look for, what to watch out for, what are some of the warning signs, what are the elements involved with the car that are important and relevant that you need to know about. You need to know about the gas mileage and the mechanical situation with the car, and you need to understand the safety features and all those kinds of things. And I've learned some hard lessons along the way, including pretty recently. I bought a car for my daughter. It was a used car, and she really wanted it. And I gave into the emotion of wanting that specific car, buying this used car, even though it had used mileage. I just didn't have a good feeling about it. And sure enough, 2.5 years later, it ended up costing me a ton of money to deal with. I mean, I should have known better. But anyway, the point is, I know what to buy. Now, by way of comparison, if you were going to buy a piano, would you know what to look for? How many people have bought 10 pianos or 22 pianos in their lifetime? Nobody. How many people have bought 5 pianos? Nobody. A few people have bought 1 or 2 pianos, but the majority, in seminars that I conduct, and I ask people, how many pianos have you bought? 85% to 90% have never bought a single piano. Now, here's why I'm talking about cars and pianos, because in your world, dealing with remodeling clients, the vast majority of them have never bought remodeling. Maybe 10 or 15% have bought windows, and you're selling windows, but the majority have not. So they don't know what to look for. They don't know how to deal with it, okay? So typically the industry, remodeling industry, here's the solutions that they use to try to overcome this issue of price resistance. Well, we'll improve our targeting, so we'll only go after rich guys. But see, the problem with that is rich guys don't know how to judge value in remodeling any better than not rich guys. It's like pianos. If you've never bought one, you don't know. You know, it's like this. I used to do this fun little exercise in training seminars. I'd have everybody bring out a piece of paper, and I'd say, okay, I want everybody right now to write everything that you're currently not aware of. And it's a very short list because you don't know what you're not aware of. And when it comes to these things, people just don't know. So improved targeting, while useful, worthwhile, something you should engage in, isn't going to overcome the issue of price resistance. See, what happens is, like I said earlier at the very, very beginning of this webinar, you get into the $1,200 and $1,300 windows, but you still encounter price resistance because people at that level that know that they want quality still don't understand how to judge quality, okay? More sales training, you know, make our sales people better, they'll wear you down. That's probably not the best solution. Pricing schemes, discounts, promotions will try to trick people into thinking that it's not as expensive as it is. Cost versus value arguments, I don't want to even talk about that. Fancy high-end marketing materials to make us look fancy. Well, if we look fancy, then people will probably just give us money without questioning it, which is probably true in some cases, but not in many, many other cases. Relying strictly on your reputation, that's a problem because the majority of people that you're going to be talking to don't know your reputation. They just don't, because most remodeling companies are number one, are small, so their reputations don't expand beyond the customers that they've reached, which is relatively few in the grand scheme of companies. I was talking to a company last week. They did $12 million in something like the 25th ranked market in the United States. $12 million is very big for a kitchen and bath remodeling company. But when we started drilling down, we realized that his market share at $12 million was still probably under 5%. Most people still didn't know who he was, even though he was pretty big and probably the biggest, okay? So here's the goal. We want people to fall in love with your company. You want to facilitate their decision-making process, help them know what's important, what to watch out for. You want them to know why you're more expensive, not just that you're more expensive. You want them to feel like they're in control of the decision. You want them to fall in love with your company. That's what we're trying to accomplish here, okay? All right, let's take a brief pause here. I got to make a technological setting here real quick. All right. Oh, and this is the key. Before they ever meet you in person, okay? You can't wait until the sales meeting to start price conditioning people. You've got to do this before so that when they show up, they're already good to go, okay? So here's what will happen if we properly price condition, help people overcome this price resistance. They're going to decide to buy from you before the sales meeting. That sounds improbable to a lot of people, especially old school sales organizations, but it's absolutely 100% true. Sales meetings go much quicker, more one-call closes, prices are higher with less resistance, customers are happier with their purchase because they understand why they're paying more. They accept that. You've just got to look around in your own life to realize that people don't want the cheapest price. I mean, do we really have to have this discussion that says people don't want the cheapest price? What they want is they want to feel like they got the best value possible. Okay, that's what they want. So you're going to make more money. How to do it? So this is kind of getting into how we're going to do it. And parts of this webinar, because your relative familiarity with MYM, I'm going to skip through a little bit quicker. We won't spend a whole lot of time, but let's just kind of put it out there on the board here. The first thing is belief, creating what I call your ignition code, identity, I can't even read, communicating your advantages. Now, you guys are probably familiar with identity. I'll cover it briefly. Building a website that converts other prepositioning materials, and then we can talk about price conditioning and advertising. And finally, the last thing we'll do is talk about using financing to reduce price resistance, okay? So let's talk about this ignition code. I'm going to show you a little video here. It's from the movie The Transporter. It's a movie that came out, gosh, probably 10, 12, maybe more years ago now, starring Jason Statham, who you can see on the screen there. In the scene that I'm going to show you, I'm going to pre-warn you. It's got a little bit of violence in it, but it's an interesting scenario that's going to help us understand the level of confidence that one can have if you are in possession of information, skills, and things that nobody else has. Okay, if you are the sole possessor of critical information, then it allows you to have a high level of confidence as you approach a situation. Now, just a little bit of setup. I'm going to show you this clip. You're going to see a guy that's pulling his car in front of what turns out to be a bank, and you're going to see bank robbers run out of the bank. Okay. At the end of this clip, what I am not going to show you is a car chase that is unbelievable because we just don't have time to watch it. But I want you to pay attention, and I want you to notice the following things. I want you to notice what is it that the driver has, what kind of confidence does he display as a result of the information that he has, and how does that allow him to take control of the situation, okay? So I'm going to cue up the movie here. Let me find that bad boy. Oh, where did it go? Okay. Here we go.
X-rated kilos not make it business on the gas on the line. So what's up in the mood? Every stop we make explosive. We expose or increase the risk of getting caught. X-rated kilos means the company shock absorbers are installed for this job, not the ability to replicate what it goes on the chest. Which means there is a chance. Use your advantage. Which also increases the possibility of getting caught. I don't want to get caught. You don't want to get caught.
Just start the car, man. You're going to take the bullet to the brain.
Who's going to drive?
So think that, no, I drive.
Not without the ignition. Free man is 154 kilos. That's the deal.
Free man, 254 kilos.
Seatbelt.
Okay, we don't need to watch that again. Now, at the conclusion of that scene, what happens is they go through the most unbelievable car chase. And if you've watched very many movies and seen very many car chases, this one is right up there at the top of unbelievable, ridiculous stunts. But at the end of the car chase, he is able to outmaneuver the police, to jump off of bridges. He lands on a randomly approaching vehicle transport truck that happens to have an open slot that he happens to land on. He happens to make it right in front of the train right before the cops get there, and he gets away, and he's the most amazing driver. Now, all of that's good and fun, and it's a movie, and clearly it's not reality. But here's an interesting point. I love this idea of the ignition code. He understood that because he had the ignition code, which was a code that he would punch into the keyboard on that keypad, he was the only person that had the ability to drive that car. Nobody else possessed the ability. His confidence in his ability to look calmly into the eyes of the lead getaway guy and explain to him that, hey, here's what I've got set up, here's how this is going to work, and to not be afraid that he was going to be killed by them was based on the fact that he absolutely knew that he had 100% control of that situation because of his information and his abilities. They knew that he could drive and get them away, et cetera, et cetera. So how does this relate to your business? And the answer is, it's pretty simple. It's a matter of you have to feel like you have the ignition code in your business. In other words, you have something that nobody else has, that none of your competitors can touch, that makes you quantifiably, unquestionably, demonstrably better than any other solution. Now, the key is to be able to communicate that so that they understand it, they perceive it, and more importantly, they believe it. But it starts with you and how you feel about your business. If you don't feel like you've got value that's demonstrably, quantifiably, actually in real life better than everything else that we're going to talk about, it really is going to be not as effectual for your business because you don't have that belief. So I want to ask you this, what is your ignition code? Do you have one? That leads us to the next step, which is a quote from Lyndon B. Johnson. It's similar in nature. It says, what convinces is conviction. Believe in the argument you're advancing. If you don't, you're as good as dead. The other person will sense that something isn't there, and no chain of reasoning, no matter how logical or elegant or brilliant, will win your case for you. What convinces, is conviction. Do you have that conviction about your business? This is where it all starts. Not where it ends, but it's where it starts. So your ignition code, you have to know you're better. What do you do that's quantifiably better? What could you innovate to give yourself an ignition code level advantage if you needed to? If you don't have ignition code, it's not going to work. And then here's a little tip for you. Don't try to cater to everyone. Draw a line in the sand and be the master of what you do. If you want to be the high-end kitchen guy, be the high-end kitchen guy. If you want to be the low-end bathroom cheap guy, be the low-end bathroom cheap guy. I don't care what you are. Just own what you are, be what you are, so that you can communicate what you are and master what you are. I've got news for you. There's no company listening to me right now that is going to outgrow your ability to make profits within whatever niche you run after. It's not going to happen. And if it does, then simply move on to a second and third and fourth geography and expand your business that way. Okay? I was talking to this guy I just mentioned to you last week that has a $12 million company in about the 25th largest market. We determined, just based on guesswork, we don't know for sure, but probably he can about triple his business within the type of customers that he wants to get to probably somewhere in the $30 to $40 million range before he's going to max out what's available in that marketplace. $30 to $40 million kitchen and bathroom modeling in one market, possible. Okay. Next, communicate your advantages. This is really where you're here to hear about. We're 25 minutes into this webinar, and you're saying, okay, finally, tell me. Okay. But you can't wait till the sales meeting to have your ignition code unveiled. You just can't. It's too late. You've got to make sure people understand ahead of time, because otherwise you're not going to have the meeting half the time, because they don't know who you are enough to have confidence in you to even invite you to their house. Okay? Communicate it with every single contact, with prospect, every contact, advertising, website, pre-positioning, the key. Identify your code, articulate it in a way that is impossible to miss. If they can't immediately tell why you're different, better, superior, then you're going to lose. Or, in the analogy from the movie, they will just simply shoot you. And in real life, they don't shoot you with a gun, but they kill you by asking you to leave or not calling you in the first place or letting somebody else get the job. And for figurative purposes of this analogy, you get killed. You're dead. You get nothing instead of getting the job, making the money, et cetera, okay? So hopefully that's not a too violent of an analogy. We're all adults. We're probably okay with it, okay? And if not, then, whatever. All right. Make sure that everything's looking good here. I got a little notice on my thing here. Okay. Well, we know that most marketing is full of platitudes, words, phrases that are really commonplace, predictable, that lack power to provoke interest through overuse and repetition, that are nevertheless stated as though they're original or significant. You probably know that. Best service, highest quality, largest selection, free estimates. We've been in business since 1431 BC. These are not ignition code type phraseology. They may be based on an ignition code advantage, but you can't communicate it like that if people are just simply not going to know. So where's the ignition code for this client, for this customer, for this company? What about this one? What's their ignition code? What makes them different and better? Nobody knows. What about this one? Nobody knows. What about this one? Nobody knows. It's all a bunch of platitudes. Welcome to Lone Star Roofing. We provide roofing and other construction services for residential commercial clients. We handle new construction as well as repairs and service top producers in real estate. Over a dozen well-trained members of our sales staff will take care of the legwork for you. If your roof has been damaged, ask us how you might be able to avoid paying your deductible. It's just not any good information. So we want to take and flip the definition of platitude on its side by talking about an identity instead. Words, phrases, and images articulated with power, precision, and passion that instantly, definitively communicate who you are, how you're different and better, what customers can expect when doing business with you. This is the antithesis of the platitude. It's your identity. So I've gone through this case study before. If you're not familiar with this case study, I'd be surprised. So I'm just going to go through it quickly so we can get to some of the elements of how to actually do this, okay? So this is, Revive Remodeling in Portland, Oregon. Been in business for a long time, does everything well, but he's essentially OCD, okay? It's an attention to detail. The premise is I'm a remodeler with exacting standards who's going to do everything right. The original website, as you may recall, doesn't look that great. It's got a bunch of platitudes on there. It sounds like Charlie Brown's mother talking, wah, 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 wah. And, of course, we come in with this one. And I know you've seen this, so I'm just going through this quickly. Persnickety, demanding, hard to please, picky, that I'm the remodeler for you. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the cheapest. According to my customers, I'm the best, okay? And we take that, we put it into advertisements. Are you anxious to get the job done? Or are you anxious to get the job done right? I could honestly care less if you have a list of 3 remodelers who are cheaper than me. Home show. In fact, I just got an email yesterday from this company, Revive Remodeling, from their home show, and they used this banner in this backdrop with the big face, and I'm telling you, it worked. They set 16 solid appointments. They had 40 other good leads. They don't have enough manpower to go through it all. They're just trying to space it out. They're overwhelmed, but it works. It just flat out works, okay? So this is part of it. It's the home show, it's the follow-up postcards, me and not done exactly right, don't get along very well. It's this kind of stuff. The email that we would send out as a part of a pre-positioning, which we'll talk about this in a minute, but let's go ahead and talk about this now as a pre-positioning. Look what it says at the top. This is an email that you would send out to confirm an appointment. Are you ready for your meeting with Portland's most persnickety remodeler? Most remodelers hate dealing with high-maintenance customers who complain about wanting every little thing a certain way. Those are the only kind I get along with. Appointment reminder, Thursday. If you're looking for whatever or just get it done, then you might want to cancel our appointment. Cookie cutter quality is not why people hire me. But if you're the kind of person that other companies hate doing business with because your demands are so unrelenting, we're going to be a great match. If you're the kind of person who's perfectly willing to send your meal back to the chef 3 times because it's not cooked to your exact specification, then we're going to get along just fine. Actually, you're my dream customer. The reason is simple. I'm actually even more demanding than you are. I totally appreciate your fussiness. Of course you want exactly the right stain color for your cabinets, even if they have to be redone twice. You'll spend 3 hours choosing a pull knob for a drawer because you know you'll spend the next 10 years regretting it if you don't absolutely love it. I'm looking forward to meeting you and starting the process of creating exactly what you want. This is called identity. Words, phrases, and images articulated with power, precision, and passion that instantly and definitively communicate who you are, how you're different and better, and what customers can expect when doing business with you. Identity, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. This allows people to understand your value proposition, to understand what's important and relevant when it comes to, in this case, remodeling. In your case, perhaps windows or roofing or siding or something else, but it's all remodeling. And it allows you to start to price condition people so that when you show up and your price is a little bit higher, or maybe in some cases a lot higher than they were expecting, well, number one, it's not a lot higher than they were expecting because we already nudged their expectation level higher, so the disconnect is less extreme, and they start to understand that, yeah, there is quality when it comes to remodeling, and they want to understand it, and they want to pay for it, okay? So your identity becomes the hub of your business, right? And you take all this stuff, and it revolves around your identity. So let's talk about using the website to reduce price resistance, okay? You need to think of your website like building a court case, okay? It should build a case like an attorney would. Your prospects are the jury, your product or service is the defendant, you're the attorney in charge, and it's a life or death sentence. That's what you need to think of it like. You're not going to use platitudes because they simply will not work. You've got to gather evidence, social proof, expert testimony, and so forth, okay? That probably makes sense. Let's talk about some of the things that go into online evidence, online reviews, customer references, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to a web browser here. And I'm going to pull up this website, Upscale Remodeling, and we're just going to take a quick look, okay? And I'll just walk you through this a little bit on this webinar. What I want to do is show you some of the different pieces of evidence. Now, this is one of our clients, Upscale Remodeling. You see at the upper left-hand corner, we've got the slogan, exactly as promised, and online reviews are right here. You can click on that. You've got a photo gallery. What we're trying to do is to set a tone with some promises. We do that here in the slider area. Consistent, clear communication is our calling card. Always know your job status. No unpleasant surprises ever. Then our warranties have backbone and teeth, not loopholes. When we say it's covered, you can take it to the bank. Everything you need in our 3,600 square foot showroom. We focus on every single detail of every single job. That's how we guarantee 100% satisfaction, start to finish, no exceptions. You get down here, welcome to stress-free, quality first, not done until you say it's done remodeling. Successful remodeling doesn't happen by accident. It's deliberate, measured, and absolutely on purpose, okay? This is the premise that we're trying to put out there. This is the identity, but now we've got to prove it, and this is where the evidence and social proof becomes so valuable. And just look at the way the website works. Why choose us? Workmanship, service experience, our process. We're giving the prospect as much information as they could possibly need to make this decision. If they like reading lots of information, it's there. If they don't feel like they want to read a lot of information, they don't have to. Technical excellence doesn't happen by accident. It's a matter of training, experience, process, and passion. This is what the client has told us. Then you get over here into the reputation section, and you can read case studies. We profiled a few of our projects, and we've got the gossip. Read more. We love the lot and the view, but we hated the house. And we've got a photo, and we've got the story, the before and after photos. And if we go back to case studies, we can read another one if we want to, the Hendricks, and the Letchworths and the Ormsbys and Rob and Bettina and the Williamsons and so forth. 500 feet of unused wasted space over the garage morphs into guest bedroom, office, crafting, play area. And here's the picture, and here's the unused space. And if we scroll through this, we'll see now it's got, you know, all this cool stuff. Okay? Pretty simple, easy to understand format. Okay? Inside the space is now a stunning spare bedroom, coveted room for overnight guests, it's David's office, etc., etc. Here's the photos. It's a case study. This is easy to understand. Okay? Reputation, we go down, we've got client references that they can get. I don't want to go through all of this because you should probably know most of this, but I'm going to tell you something. Any amount of this stuff that you leave out, in other words, if you fail to put this stuff into your website or into your court case, as the case may be, then you lose the ability by that much to persuade the audience or the jury. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to persuade the jury. That's why we have a section on testimonials. Here's what I love about these testimonials. You want to know how many there are? The answer is there are, well, here. I have something I call the law of 3.5 scrolls, which says if you scroll something 3.5 times and it keeps going, then people think, wow, that's a lot. Let's see how many scrolls we get here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. It's a 28 scroll page. You think people feel like there's a lot of proof on there? You better believe it. Online reviews are also found. You can go and you can click on our guild quality, our house reviews, our Google reviews, and so forth. You can see what the Better Business Bureau has to say. You can read the About Us page on here. My story begins here in Ithaca, New York. As a third-generation remodeling contractor, you can safely say remodeling is my blood. Here's a story, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Now, here's the idea. It's called evidence. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to produce evidence. Let's get rid of that for the moment. Okay. Well, this was their website before, right? It just looks like your typical website. All right, we don't need to look at that. Now, let's talk about whiteboard-style explainer videos. Some of you have heard us talk about these. This is something that we will be reaching out to each of you and just putting it bluntly, attempting to sell these to you, not because we're trying to be greedy, filthy rich, you know, Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank kinds of people, but because this is stuff that you need, number one, to help your Google rankings, because video is powerful in that regard, but also to help persuade the jury. Okay? Let's see if I can click on this and find this.
When it comes time to do a roof replacement, the company you choose really does matter. It is the single most important decision for the long-term health of your home. But sorting through all the industry claims is confusing. Let's sweep away the cobwebs, clear the clutter, demolish the confusion, and talk about the 4 crucial areas when shopping for a roof replacement. Crucial area number 1. First, find concrete proof that a company is as good as it claims. Smart homeowners know that jumping at the first offer or bottom of the...
Okay, I'm not going to take you through this whole video. Suffice it to say, this is a powerful thing that you can put together. Another thing that we will begin offering essentially right now, not formalized, but we're doing our first couple videos right now. We're creating live videos. The reason we started offering whiteboard style videos is that they are much, much easier to produce from a logistics standpoint. We do not have to send a camera crew to shoot your video in your specific location. However, there is something very poignant and powerful about seeing you, customers, your workers, etc., on video. So we actually are creating this service starting immediately, and we will actually dispatch camera crews and create videos for your identity, for customer reviews, for contractor standards, and other things, not only to give you more videos to juice your SEO, but to build this case. Okay, so you might want to keep an eye out for that as those come online in the near future. Okay, let's keep going. Keep this in mind. When people come to your website, they want to find information right then. Don't wait till the sales meeting. If your site makes you look the same as everyone else, then they're going to ask you the same question. How much is it? That's what they're going to want to know. Identity-based website will do more to price, condition, prospect than pretty much anything else you can do. Pretty much anything else. It has to be done right. Okay, and again, testimonial from Don. It's just simply saying they created a large account using this website. Let's look at some other elements of pre-positioning. Identity brochures, contractor standards guides, product reports, phone scripts, emails. Let's take a look. This is something we're also just now starting to offer. Identity brochures, quality, stress-free, quality first remodeling, upscale remodeling corp. Here's what our customers say. It says what kinds of services they offer on the inside. You open this brochure up. It's not done until you say it's done, period. We're sticklers for details. We obsess over perfection. Got a picture of the owner. We're not the fastest. We're not the cheapest. Our passion is to be the best. What to expect when you hire the best. Nothing's left to chance. Showroom information. We specialize in even better than I imagined. This is an oversized brochure. And I'm not exactly sure how big it is, but I just grabbed one. And I'll just tell you because I have a big old ruler here and I can measure it real quick. So this thing is exactly 11 inches tall, and it is exactly 5 and almost 3/4 inches wide. So this is much larger than a typical brochure. It's also printed on a cardstock so that it has more weight and substance to it. It also, because of its large size, has more room to put stuff so it doesn't look jammed up. In fact, I'm holding this brochure now. I've opened it up. That photograph that you see is 2 panels wide. And actually, in the final version here, we have a little change. We have a before picture in the upper right-hand corner that's not present in the photo. But the photo is 11.5 inches wide by 7.25 inches tall. I mean, it's just impressive. You look at it and you go, wow, this is really cool. And that's what we're trying to do with this identity brochure. So if that's something you're interested in, this is something we've just started creating and producing for our clients, but it's not on our website just quite yet. Hey, man, we're innovating stuff over here. Contractor standards guides, most of you probably are familiar with this. I will just go through this very quickly. If you're a customer of MYN, then this is something you already have a pretty good handle on. So get this, utilize this. Another thing that we're doing starting basically this month or March, I guess, is we're going to offer what we call a contractor standards guide booster for your website, where we will create an HTML version of this for your website where people can go in and click through page to page and see all these elements. The PDF is good, but we also want this to be on your website as just one of the standard elements. People click on contractor standards, and then we go to a 20-page subsection. That's known as the CSG booster, something that's going to help you sell even more. Just more information you can give people, the better. Product reports. We're also using the same size of brochure for product reports. We still have the older, larger 8.5 by 11 multi-page 12 to 16 to 20 page reports, but we're now moving in favor of these lighter, more nimble trifolds. Again, it is an oversized trifold, but here's what I want you to understand. It's not just, hey, we sell windows, but if you look at this, here's what you need to know about windows: the quality, energy efficiency, installation, the warranties. I'm going to go backwards one slide. You see on the back, window styles and types. It says on the back of the brochure there are over 2,000 brands of windows. We sifted through all of them to bring you the best of the best. It explains how they chose the particular brand that they carry, and then what you need to know in terms of quality, energy efficiency, installation, and warranties. This is called building the case. It's called facilitating the decision-making process. It's called price conditioning and overcoming price resistance. This is one that we put together for metal roofing. Yep, okay, yeah. Got it. So you can see this. We don't have to go through it in detail. Okay. Let's talk about the inbound lead call for just a minute. Inbound lead call. After taking general information, talk about the pre-positioning materials. This is what you do. The phone call comes in, and the prospect gives you their contact information just like they normally would. Whoops, get that off of there. Okay, and then here's what you say. Have you had a chance to look at our website? And they'll either say yes or no. Most likely they will say yes. Not always, but most likely. Well, one of the things that we're known for is we're the persnickety remodeler or whatever your identity is. I'm going to mail you or email you a report. Focus on your identity and no pressure sales. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to focus on this call on identity and no pressure sales. So we might say something like, one of the things that's in the Contractor Standards Guide is what we call our no tricks, no pressure sales agreement. That's our guarantee in writing to you that we're coming to your house to help you make the best decision and not to simply sell you something. We're there man, I can't think of the word I want all of a sudden. We're there in the role of educator. We want to help you make the best decision possible. If you decide to do business with us, naturally, we'd be thrilled. We'd be honored to have you as our customer. But the most important thing is to make sure that you understand what you're being sold, you understand every part of the decision, and you make the decision that's best for your particular situation, for your home, for your style and taste, and for your budget. And if we can help you, that would be fantastic. That's why we have this no tricks, no pressure sales agreement. It's your guarantee that we're coming there to help out. So we'll see you on Thursday. Then you walk into their house on Thursday, and they are welcoming you with open arms instead of sort of cowering in fear that you're there to sell them something, okay? So what we want to do is focus on that call on identity, no pressure sales, commit them to reading or studying if you email it, if you send them a link to a website, whatever. Confirmation call, kind of the same way, right? Use the reports. You want the same person to do all the confirmations. You don't want to leave it to individual salespeople. And so here's what you say. Did you receive our package via email or priority mail or however you might have sent it over? Do you have it handy? Open the green report to the first page. That's where it talks about how the owner of our company has put together this Contractor Standards Guide. The industry standards weren't strong enough. It's broken down into 4 parts: financial stability, reputation, professionalism, and workmanship. And this guide is designed to help you understand how to judge contractors according to those things. Now, in the third section, professionalism, one of the things is the no tricks, no pressure sales agreement. Here's what that means. And you tell them one more time what it means. You can rest assured before we come that we're not coming to try to sell you. We're coming to help you make the best choice. And it is received very, very well. Okay? I already showed you this pre-positioning email, but I want you to think about your pre-positioning in your emails. I'm going to strongly recommend that you send an email to your prospects every single day between the time they set the appointment and you actually show up. And a lot of people are very quick to tell me, hey, well, we get out to see our appointments very quickly, which is great, but it's not always realistic that you're going to see them the very next day. In fact, most of the remodelers that I talk to, they're going to be seeing their appointments sometime within 2 to 6 days after the appointment is set. And in that case, you're going to definitely want to send multiple emails. What kind of emails can you send? Identity-based emails, reference-based emails. You can send online reviews. You can send photographs, case studies. You can send information about the products. like the report that we just talked about, contractor standards. The idea here is very simple. You want people to understand that you're different, that you're unique, that you're better, that you have their best interest at heart, and that you are as good as you actually are. That's what we're trying to do, so that when you do show up, you're all set to go, okay? Now, let's shift gears here a minute. Let's talk about pre-positioning in advertising, okay? So now you're going to spend your money on radio or direct mail or referrals or home shows or newspaper or Angie's List, Yellow Pages, maybe who knows, SEO, telemarketing, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you're also starting to pre-position, price condition, and influence their pricing opinion early on. Now, I showed you these ads a little bit earlier. Kitchen remodeling, are anxious to get the job done or anxious to get the job done right. If you see that ad, we take a little longer, we cost a little more, but wait until you see the final product. And over here it says Why Revive. We've got the little pictures. You know, go to their website. You can request this free design portfolio. Here's what's going to happen. When you start advertising like this, people are going to start to perceive you as a higher quality, more upscale, more desirable company to do business with from the very beginning. Compare this to something that you see that says at the very top, $3,000 off. Now, there's a time and a place for a $3,000 off offer. And I'm not suggesting that if you have a $3,000 off offer that you're making some colossal mistake and you're doomed to failure. In fact, I could show you many examples where the $3,000 off offer has worked extremely well. I'm asking you, in general, to look at your campaigns that you run and to make sure that you take time to price condition and not simply advertise price and discounts, because you will become known as a price and discount company, which is not what you're trying to be known as. I could honestly care less if you have a list of 3 remodelers who are cheaper than me. We take a little longer, we cost a little more, but wait until you see that final product. Just an interesting way to approach it. Let's see, we've got some radio ads. Let's listen to these. Let's see if I can get this thing over here. Oh, can't open the specified ad. That's probably not true because I could probably open it anyway, because I have ways and means to do things. Let's see here. Yeah, getting close. Whoa, don't know where that came from. Hang on. All right.
How many references do you think you should check before hiring a remodeling contractor? 2, 3, 10? You know what? About half the time, contractors don't give any references. And even when they do, half the time, people don't actually call them. That's a huge mistake. You should always call references before giving any contractor a dime. At Vail Home Services and Construction, we'll give you as many references as you want. Last year, we completed 381 projects, including 94 bathrooms, 51 roofing jobs, and 196 kitchens, room additions, and remodeling jobs. You can call all 381 if you want. Ask them if we completed the job on time. Ask them if we stayed within their budget. Ask them if we were easy to get in touch with during the job. And most importantly, ask them the mother of all reference questions. If you had to do it over again, would you still choose Vail Home Services and Construction? Call us at 574-533-4821 to discuss your next remodeling job, or visit us online at vailhome.com. That's 574-533-4821. Or all remodeling companies will tell you that they treat their customers right? But at Vail Home Services, we want you to know that we don't just treat our customers right, we also treat our employees right. Tim Fleck, our production manager, has been with Vail since 1986. Jared Froh, our sales manager, has been with Vail for over 20 years now. Half of our 18 full-time employees have logged 10 or more years. The reason is simple. At Vail, we treat our employees right. We have matching 401k plans. We issue company vehicles. We have health and life insurance. benefits. And after 15 years of service, employees get a 1-week paid cruise for 2 as a token of our appreciation. So think about this. If we go to such great lengths to treat our employees right, how do you think we're going to treat you? And more importantly, how do you think our employees are going to treat you? That's right. Right. So if you're thinking about remodeling, call us at 574-533-4821 or online.
Okay. Now, this is a little bit unnerving to some people, not people that hear it, but companies that are thinking about advertising, and they hear this idea that we treat our employees right, we give them insurance, we give them company vehicles, we give them a cruise after they've worked with us for 10 years, and they think, wow, I'm telling people that we're expensive, and I'm communicating to them that we're going to be expensive, and as a result, they think people are going to hear that and say, well, I don't want to call that company because they sound expensive, when in fact the exact opposite is the case. They hear that and they say, wow, this is a company that actually has been around a long time. It's got people that have been there for many, many years. And there's specific people. I heard the guy's name, Fleck and Jared Pro and all these guys, whoever they are. And this sounds like the kind of company that I'd love to work for if I worked for, a remodeling company. And it makes people feel confident. What convinces is conviction. Believe in the argument you're advancing. If you don't, you're dead. The other person will sense that something isn't there, and no line of reasoning, no matter how logical or elegant or brilliant, will win your case for you. Does it make sense that those kind of employees are more committed to the job, that do a better job, that have more experience, that know how to get things done within the system? Or do you want the guy that is hired for half as much money and comes into your house without really knowing what he's doing or how he works within that company's framework, who doesn't have any guarantee that he's actually even qualified to be there? Which do you want in your house, right? See, that's the implication, and it's very powerful. All right, let's see if we can find this. Well, let me just show you this. No, I'm not going to show you that. I think we're just going to end there. Radio commercials, same thing with your home shows. I told you I was going to talk about financing. I'm going to pass on that. I'll cover that at a different time. In fact, I have covered. If you want to see that, you can either search the website in the blog section for financing, or you can look in the insider portal for the same thing. So that's really what I have for you today. I think this is an interesting topic. I think it's the really most important topic of all, which is how do we overcome price resistance? The answer is by price conditioning on the front end, facilitating the decision-making process, having a belief in an ignition code so that when people hear you talk with power, you communicate your identity with power, precision, and passion. People understand who you are, how you're different, why you're better, why they should do business with you. They see it on your website. They see it in your brochures. They see it on your advertisements. They hear it on the radio. They see it on the television. They see it when they go to the home show. Every time they look up, they're hearing you say something that is powerful. It comes in the email when they set an appointment. They see it in your contractor standards guide. They see it on your explainer videos. They look on your website and see all the evidence, and it starts to build a very compelling case. And really what we're looking for is in the idea of a court case, what you're really looking for is what they call a preponderance of evidence, where it's absolutely overwhelming and undeniable and incontrovertible that what you're saying is true. You can make up a little bit here and there. You can lie in generalities, and you can expand the truth and exaggerate. But in totality, when you've got all of these things, people know it's impossible to lie to that extent. And they know that you're not exaggerating, and they know that you're not lying, and they know that you're being honest and forthright with them because you're building the case that precludes any hint of anything that's fishy or not genuine or not authentic. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here. It's called price conditioning. It's called overcoming price resistance. And hopefully that was worthwhile for you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, reach out to me, and we'll be back with you again next week. Thanks so much. Bye now.